All right, welcome back to the Copywriters Podcast with your host, the world's greatest copywriting coach, David Garfinkel. David, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Nathan. How are you?
I am good as well, and I'm excited for today's show. Every once in a while we cover a topic that doesn't get enough coverage, and those shows always excite me, and that happens to be the case today. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, well, let's get started. You know, one of the hardest things for copywriters and business owners to get right is running ads to cold traffic on Facebook and Instagram and making those ads profitable. If you've tried this for yourself, I think you know what I mean. So today's guest, who has discovered some important techniques that work and also has discovered mistakes to avoid, is going to share valuable information about both of them with you in detail. Our special guest today is Travis Moh, and he's a media buyer who understands copywriting as well as the mysterious world of online funnels and different kinds of campaigns. Travis is responsible for more than 25 million in tracked revenue over the last 3 years. He says, most clients I work with come to me after they've been burned by large ad agencies because they like my in-house, in-depth approach much better. Travis also coaches other media buyers and business owners, and he's going to let us in on some of his hard-won knowledge today. But first, let me let you in on something you may have heard before. Copy is powerful. You're responsible for how you use what you hear in this podcast. Most of the time, common sense is all you need. But if you make extreme claims or if you're writing copy for offers in highly regulated industries like health, finance, and business opportunity, you may want to get a legal review after you write and before you start using your copy. My larger clients do this all the time. So, Travis, welcome and thanks for being here.
Thanks. Yeah, excited to be on the show. And I'm really digging the hat. Is that Pinky in the Brain?
It is. It certainly is.
Yeah. I love that cartoon. Anyways.
I love it myself. Yes, probably why I wear the hat. Okay, well, we got so much to cover, so let's jump into this one. There are a lot of business owners and advertisers that are scared to run ads or have been burned in the past. Why do so many ad campaigns fail?
Yeah, so this is a question I get pretty often. A lot of people come to me like, "Hey, like I'm doing everything I can. Like, what's wrong with my ads? Like, is it the ad creative? Is it the copy? Is it the offer, the funnel, the automations?" There's a lot of things that go into running paid ads to cold traffic that makes a campaign successful, right? So, in my opinion, the single most important thing, obviously we track all the numbers, but I always go back over to the offer and the funnel structure backing it, right? So the first thing I look at is the offer, because like, in my opinion, you can have the greatest offer in the world and a pretty bad advertising campaign and it'll still do pretty good. Like you can be a very mediocre media buyer and still get as profitable if the offer is killer, right? However, if it's the opposite, where the offer didn't get a lot of thought and time put into it, and you have the best media buyer and advertising campaign in the world, like even if the ads are great, if the offer isn't good, then you can still get it profitable. It's just a lot harder in the long term to be able to scale it further and further. So, for example, I had a real estate investing course that I was advertising. And, real estate investing is already a saturated market. But we tried a ton of different ads to their webinar. And the cool part was that their webinar was actually very engaging. Like people really liked them and people stayed till the end and everything. But once they this was about a year and a half ago, but every time, like once we transitioned to the offer and they were doing the pitch and everything, it was just like, there was no closes. And we occasionally get one or two or something. And it wasn't like a super expensive course. It was like a $1,000, $997 real estate investing course. But the offer just wasn't compelling enough or wasn't presented in a compelling way enough for them to buy. It's like the same everywhere else. And so we kind of had to go into it, and we actually talked to the list and we talked to the people. After they didn't buy, we talked to them like, hey, why didn't you guys buy? Was there anything you guys did till the end? What was it, a money issue? Like, what was the biggest objection? And they're basically comparing us to a lot of the competitors. Like, what's different from you than, Pace Morby or other big shots in the industry of like this? Like, the offer doesn't seem. So we basically went back to the offer and restructured it, really pinpointed out and we beefed it up too. We gave more templates and we highlighted those things. They just weren't highlighting a lot of the things they're giving, and then it started to convert a lot better. So that's just one example of the offer.
Oh, that's a great example, and I'm wondering, I'd love for you to talk about what goes into a good offer, but before that, I'm wondering how many people do you think get the offer right versus get the offer wrong when they're running a funnel?
So I don't work with as many startups anymore, but it can take some time for sure. Like, even for my own offer, for example, like when I was first getting into coaching other media buyers and everything, I was just kind of winging things. And I was like, like, people have asked me for something like this. Like, how do I know what to charge? How do I know, like, what to include with the coaching and everything? And, I still made some sales just based on people will still buy off of, like, credibility and like, oh, they like you already. So they're just like, oh yeah, I'll go through with it. But when it's the cold traffic, it's like, they don't already know, like, and trust you. Right. And so, um, it can take a bit of tweaking with the price points and with, what you include in the offer. So it can be hard at first. Typically, it takes my clients like 3 months, and we'll just tweak the offer. Typically, we'll give, depending on their budget, but typically around 3 months, we'll maybe change up the price point if it's not convert. If it's converting super well, normally we'll keep it running, but then we'll make minor tweaks just to keep things testing, see if we can make it even better. But if it's not working, then sometimes we have to make more drastic changes or talk to the list to be like, what do you want?
Yeah, for sure. Nathan.
I like to think of, when it comes to making your offer to a cold audience versus a warm audience, I like to think of, if I needed to borrow $1,000 and my offer was, I'll pay it back with 15% interest, I could go to David, and me and David have a long established relationship, and David would be like, yeah, no problem. Where do I send the money? But if I went to you, you would be the example of cold traffic. You'd be like, I don't know this guy. He's got face tattoos. He looks kind of thuggish. I don't think, even if he offered 30% interest, I don't think I'm going to loan him the $1,000. And a lot of people don't understand that that's what you're up against when you're running to cold traffic.
Yeah, no, I love that point. It's great.
Exactly. Okay, so what does make a good offer for cold traffic? People don't know you, don't like you, don't trust, don't know anything about you. They just found out about you.
Yeah. Well, I think the example he just said was a perfect example of what cold and warm is, and what makes a good offer. In my opinion, it takes the prospect from where they're currently at in a situation, and then, you know in the ad or thing, you drive enough pain or desire or benefit so that, to the solution that you're offering, right? So if someone is totally unaware, like, I think of the book Great Leads when I think of, like, stages of awareness. It talks about, like, unaware, you're problem aware, solution aware, product aware, or very aware, right? And so, like media buying, for example, or Facebook ads. It's not like a new thing. People, uh, depending on what type of business you're doing. But let's say in the copywriting world or something like that, like Facebook ads is has been around for a while, and most copywriters know what Facebook ads are. It's not like a new thing to get clients or something, but most of them are probably uh, product aware, and everything, of different people selling courses. So the goal would be to drive in the pain of, maybe they've been burned before, maybe they've tried Facebook ads with an agency or by themselves, and there's so many little little buttons to press, and they don't know which campaign or what will make it work successfully. So you can drive into that versus if it's maybe like a local business like a med spa or something, and let's say they have no clue how to get new leads other than Google My Business, like local SEO and everything, and Facebook ads and paid advertising is brand new to them. Then you have to kind of go into the pain of oh, I have like, you're only relying on organic SEO. You tried this, but nothing is really that predictable. Here's a predictable way, and here's Facebook ads, and here's what it can do. So just kind of pinpointing where they're at, and then to your point of what makes a good offer, something that gives them a solution to where they're at, essentially, in short.
Yeah, I also like the example you gave before about the real estate guy. I mean, they said, "How is this different from anything else?" And I mean, doesn't the offer have to show something different that's important and valuable?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It has to, in my opinion, whatever the price point is at, it has to show more value than the price point significantly in order for someone to buy, right? Like if you're selling something for 10 grand and people value it at, $1,500, they'll never buy. But yeah, if they value it at 30 or 50,000, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I know I'll 5X my return. I feel confident. I'll definitely, no brainer. I'll go in and buy. So.
Okay, so let's say I've got my offer tweaked and figured out. I know what it is. I've done enough um, research, maybe not marketplace, but just talking to people. So they say every time I tell them about it, they say, "Where can I get it?" So
Yep.
what kind of funnel should I use for my offer?
Yeah, that's a great question too. Um, I solely focus, and this is not for physical product e-commerce things. I mainly do lead gen for digital products, info businesses, coaching business, things like that. So it might look different for e-commerce, Shopify stores, stuff like that. But as far as these services go, or digital products, coaching, things like that, I focus on 6 different types of funnels for the most part. Like very rarely do I focus on other funnels, but the first one is a direct to sale live webinar funnel. Um, and so before I get into these funnels, I typically ask the business owner what they're good at or what the client's good at. If they're terrible on camera, we don't do webinars. If they're great at writing and copywriting or things like that, then yeah, let's do a sales letter. Let's do a different type. Let's focus on lead gen to get them on their email list, and they're good at selling on the email, things like that. So it's good to know what you're good at first, right? Um, but within this, there's 6 funnels, right? So the first one, let's say you're good on video, you're good on lives, direct to sale live webinar funnel. A lot of you guys might know this as kind of like the Russell Brunson perfect webinar type of feel, where it's you sign them up for a live webinar, they get onto the webinar, and then you sell something and direct them to checkout on the webinar. Like you give the price point up front. And typically these are for mid-ticket items or lower ticket items or subscriptions type deal. Typically it's not for, services worth more than 3 to 5K type deal. Typically that's through a book to call live webinar funnel. But the second one is direct to sale automated webinar funnel. When you've done enough live webinars, you can make it automated. It'll naturally drop in conversion rate. However, if you're really good at it and you can make a good automated webinar funnel, those are always beautiful because then you don't have to be there live. The third one is a book to call live webinar funnel. This is what I mentioned earlier. This is typically for higher ticket services or coaching or things like that, where you still give the offer, but at the end you give a program, but you don't give away the price point. You can if you want, but most of the time you don't. The goal is to book them on a call and then have your sales reps close them on a high ticket service or coaching or things like that. The fourth one is a book to call automated webinar funnel. A lot of people also know this as a VSL funnel, where they opt into a training or to some type of direct offer of value, and then they book a call right then and there. The fifth one is a tripwire low ticket offer funnel. Um, A lot of people will do it through books. You'll see a lot of these where it's like free book, just cover shipping and handling is typically like a $10 book or $15 book. You also see mini courses for these tripwire funnels. And the whole goal of these tripwire funnels is to break even on the front end um, and then profit on the back end, whether that's through a continuity offer or a high ticket service or just more digital products to upsell on the back end, right? And then the last one is a free trial or subscription funnel. And this can be through like a free trial of a software. I have one client, onlinejobs.ph. They teach people, or it's like a Indeed kind of job board for online Filipino specialists. And basically, we get them on a free trial, and we kind of know our average free to paid subscription rate, and we just bank off of that. So sorry, yeah, I kind of went through all of them, but those are the 6 funnels. Hopefully that makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, that's great. I mean, how do you make the most profit out of your funnel?
Yeah, I personally use a funnel forecaster calculator, things like that, before I take on any offer. And so I've done enough paid ads to know most industries, and I've ran ads for quite a few industries in this kind of niche, to kind of predict. Or if they've already ran ads, I'll take their previous results and I'll plug in all the numbers from cost per click, landing page conversion rate, stuff like that. So then I could basically diagnose the bottleneck and be like, hey, if we were to run this funnel, would it be profitable? And I'll put in all the numbers beforehand. If not, like, okay, how can we beef it up? Can we add another offer? Do we have to increase the value and the price of the product in order to make it profitable with cold traffic? So that's kind of how I view, I guess, getting funnels to profitability.
Okay, so you mentioned bottlenecks. Can you give some examples of what they are and then how you unclog bottlenecks and plug leaks?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go to another tripwire funnel. So like a low ticket offer funnel that I had. I had a client also in the real estate investing niche, different person, but um, they were focusing on multifamily properties and how to invest in those and things like that. And they had a mini course. It was $7, right? It was super cheap. And the cost to acquire, and real estate investing is one of the most expensive niches you can be on in Facebook, right? Like the cost per thousand impressions will be really expensive. So to acquire a $7 customer actually costed us $40, which doesn't sound good, right? But when you add things like bump offers or upsells on the back end, they were selling coaching for 10 grand on the back end, right? And so in the beginning, we were getting even higher cost per acquisitions. We're getting probably close to $60, $70 cost per acquisition for a $7 product. And we still had upsells in place. However, the goal was to get them to buy into the 10 grand coaching. And we were just shy of break even when we first, like the first 2 months or something, um, just from the funnel alone. However, the back end, we made like zero coaching sales and everything like that. And we're like, oh man, like it's still not profitable. And I plugged in all the numbers of like, okay, what's our cost per click? What's our cost per front end acquisition? What's the conversion rate between the bump and upsells, things like that? And then what is the book to call rate after the buy the mini course and try to book a call to basically get sold get offered the 10 grand coaching. And it was like super low. It was like for every call they hopped on, it was like a 2% close rate over time, which was really low. Like, okay, like maybe it's a sales issue. Let's chat with the sales guy. And turns out that the owner of the business, I thought he was taking in the calls. This is why communication is good with them. But he actually outsourced to someone from another country whose English wasn't very good. He was from Mexico and everything, and didn't know much about the U.S. real estate market. And his English was still had an accent and everything. I was like, I don't know. It can be a turnoff when you're trying to sell a US coaching thing with someone with an accent who doesn't have the best English, right? So
Yeah.
I basically told them like, hey, you have to take the calls for now. Let's prove this, and then you can hire someone who is native tongue, who knows the real estate market, stuff like that. So that's what we did, and that was a bottleneck that we found, right?
Well, what happened to the 2%?
It jumped up to
Two
15. It jumped up to
and
15, and
and 15 was profitable.
very profitable. It turned out being like a 5x after we did that return on ad spend. So yeah, really worked out. Another thing that so the goal is to just track all the numbers. That's kind of the goal of a media buyer. There's like the scientific side where you got to be the data specialist. There's the creative side where you got to make the ads, the process, the strategy, all that stuff. But yeah, it's super good to get clean data so that otherwise they'll just blame you like, hey, ads aren't working, let's shut everything off. Like it's good to know where the bottlenecks are so you can be like, okay, let's work on this together. So
Yeah, and it sounds like you've got to break it into segments and look at each segment and say, okay, is it leaking here? Does it need to be improved? Um, so that's good. So let's talk about money. How much do you have to spend to make a paid ad successful? That always seems like a money pit to me.
yeah, for sure. um, if you're running your ads yourself, I always suggest to start off small, unless you just want to move things fast. But if you're using like an agency or another, and obviously there's management fees involved and retainers and things like that. So sometimes you should spend more just to get the best bang for your buck with the agency to make it worth it. But like, for example, let's say you're running ads for yourself and you don't have a giant budget, but you still want to test and get new leads and everything. You can even, for something like lead generation or an opt-in to a webinar or even to a low ticket product. The lowest I've ever spent, even for my own stuff, is $10 a day. Like even when I'm not, it's very minimal and you'll get results really slow, but you can still test and get some leads. Um, the furthest I have scaled, you can scale really far. Like I've scaled an account to 60 grand for a certain promotional offer. So it really just depends how fast you want to test and how urgent the need is to get leads, right? For example, I have a newsletter. It's based on AI and utilizing it for media buyers and how I utilize AI for media buyers. And it's just like a list builder, and I'm not like super urgent, and I spend like $30 a day on it, and it brings in, you know, 5 to 10 leads per day, and it's good. It just keeps the list growing and things like that. But it's yeah, you don't have to spend a lot if you're running ads yourself. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Nathan.
I just wanted to chime in real quick. The ads platforms have gotten really good. They've gotten great at split testing things. They've gotten great at identifying target audiences. I let them do most of the work now, but I will double or co-sign on what you said. Generally, they learn a lot faster, and if you're only paying $10 a day, you're dramatically reducing the speed at which it can learn. And that's really what this is all about, is giving it data, giving it enough time to test and enough people to test on. And once it figures it out, it figures it out.
It does. Yes. Yeah. So depending on the speed of how fast you want to get results, it just depends how much budget you have and things like that. But it's very true. One mistake I do see a lot of media buyers when I take over accounts though, um, a lot of people will do testing budgets very large from the beginning. And when I say large, um, I like to avoid a lot of waste. So when I test campaigns and everything, I start my ad sets or like an audience that I'm testing um, pretty low compared to most. A lot of people will be like, "Oh yeah, if you're trying to get a cost per acquisition or a cost per call for $150, start your thing at $150 so that you can know within a day." And although it is a fast way to test, and if it hits, then it hits hard and you can scale faster. Um, a lot of the times it will make your CPMs increase starting at a higher budget, which makes your cost per click even higher, right? So what I'll do is start it at like $30 a day or something like that, and then I'll scale by 20% each day until I get to 150. And it does avoid a lot of waste. And if it does hit, then I can scale much faster vertically and horizontally versus like just putting the 150 and it like kind of tanking. It's like, oh, I kind of wasted 150, but yeah, stuff like that. So
Before we go, you have something you've been talking about, pieces of it, your high ROI formula that you teach in your coaching program. And I was wondering if you could tell us about that.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I kind of focus on I guess what I just mentioned, like profit first. Um, and so a lot of businesses you can test really fast and things like that. But this high ROI formula is meant to focus on the profit first and uh, basically instead of the ready fire aim approach, even though that's a good approach to get things moving, I kind of just go ready aim fire. So it's like there's a lot of pre-launch steps that need to be in place to give you the best chances of being successful and profitable, right? And so that's why it's so important to focus on the funnel and the offer and make sure all your automations are working and make sure your ads are great, how to write great ads, how to produce great ads and things like that so that you can give your best chances of just going out with a bang from the start and get your ads profitable off the bat. So yeah, with the high ROAS formula, there's a lot of pre-launch checklists that we go through, and then um, even once you get to the actual ads manager part, it kind of focuses on testing things very scientifically. Of like, you have your audience testing campaign, which basically tests new audiences, but proven creative and proven copy. You got your creative testing campaign that focuses on new creative, but your proven audiences and copy. Then you have your copy testing campaign with new copy, proven audiences, proven creative. You get the point. So those main three things, and that you're testing, eventually you'll find the best of all three worlds, and you'll be able to make it to a scale campaign where you can take pretty far. And always having those three campaigns running, you'll always find new winners and the best, audiences, creative, and copy that all kind of are congruent with each other, so that you can keep scaling your ads and obviously retargeting. But yeah, that's basically what it goes through.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I like about your approach is I don't know a lot of media buyers, but from what I hear, a lot of them focus pretty hard on the metrics and the targeting, but they give short shrift to the creative and the copy. And now, as you were admitting before, if you have a really great offer, you can get by. But I think when you get all of those things aligned, it'll make a difference. I mean, have you noticed that? Have you ever come in where someone had a good offer, had their targeting down, but their copy sucked and their creative was kind of lame, and you got that tweaked? And just have you ever seen the kind of difference that can make?
Oh yeah. In fact, a client right now, we're running kind of like a nationwide campaign for mortgage protection insurance. Kind of a boring niche, um, and it to make a niche that adds fun to a niche can actually make a real difference. And having good creatives and engaging copy and things like that, we're getting around $45 cost per lead. And this company that I'm running the ads for, they sell the leads to other insurance agents, right? And so basically they sell them for $50. So we're only making $5 a pop. And we had these really bad creatives, just really mediocre. It seemed like generic GPT copy or something with all the emojis and a lot of the word unlock and skyrocket and stuff like that. But anyways, yeah, we decided to focus on the creative. I started writing a bunch of ads, and we sent the ads. They filmed them, and we sent it to a creative agency. And yeah, it basically launched the click through rates like pretty far. And over time, it's been what, 3 weeks now. we're getting $18 cost per leads now, and we're selling them for $50.
Wow.
Made a huge. I didn't even think it would do that well. I was like, yeah, maybe bring it down to $30, but no, it's doing really well. The ads are going viral, and a lot of engagement, and just the actors that they hired, because the guy wasn't good on video. Yeah, they're really good actors. So
Well, yeah, that's a very inspiring story. Okay, what's your course called? And you have 2 versions of it, right?
yeah. So it's called Media Buying Pro, and there's 2 versions. One specifically for course creators and coaches, and then there's who want to run ads for themselves, right? And then there's one specifically for media buyers and agency owners like myself, who want to retain clients longer and learn how to get better results so that they can charge higher retainers.
Just launched?
Oh yeah, it just launched. We did a beta test this last year, beginning of this year, and we got around 20 people into the program and saw some great results and going through it and everything. And that was just with the course format. For the first 100 people, I'm giving a year-long group coaching with it to push even more people through it. So, but yeah, the official program just launched earlier this month. So exciting stuff.
Okay, well, that's really good. And we'll put the links to both of them in mediabuyingpro.com. One's /agency, one's /ads for coaches. That's the one for course creators and coaches. But we'll put it in the show notes.
I have one question before we're out of here.
Yes.
And this is something that I've run into, and maybe my competency level isn't at the same level as yours, so that's why I'm curious. Running ads for a brand new offer, somebody who's like, hey, we just came to market, we want to scale this, versus running ads for an established, proven offer. I have never, maybe once, but I can't think of a time where I've had a good time getting a brand new offer off of the ground with ads. But usually if someone comes to me with a proven offer, we can scale it with ads. So I wanted to get your take on what your experience has been with that particular scenario.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it can be difficult with new offers, but most of the time I actually won't take on projects unless they're like a venture-backed company and they have all this capital and really want to move things forward. But like most of the time I ask them, is it a proven offer organically? Like, have they sold the offer? Because people need case studies. People need proof before you can really sell, because, online world's so skeptical. So I usually will not suggest to run any ads unless you've sold the offer that you've sold organically or to a warm list. Just, yeah.
Okay, that's been my exact experience.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay, one more time before we're out of here. What was the name of your website? And is there anywhere people can connect with you if they want to get to know you better and find out more about what you do?
Yeah. So if you're interested in any of the coaching, it's mediabuyingpro.com /agency if you're agency owner, media buyer, or /ads for coaches if you're a coach and want to run ads yourself. You can follow me on Facebook, Travis Moh, Instagram, same name, Travis Moh, LinkedIn. You'll see most of my content on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So you could follow me there, and all that good stuff.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Like I said at the beginning of the show, this is a topic that we don't cover very often. So I'm glad that you came on and shared a wealth of knowledge. And if you're listening to this and you want to check out the 2 courses that he's got available, head on over to copywriterspodcast.com. We've got it in the show notes there. And until next time, we will catch you later.
Catch you later.
Thanks.